What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, another day, another dollar. We're going to be breaking down our SPY chart today because finally something has changed on there. And then we'll take a look at our ES futures contract and then get into the nitty gritty of our 30-minute time frame, update you guys on some destinations, mark them, do a little T&A on those. And then I think we might take a brief look at Bitcoin because I think Bitcoin is at a pretty important level in my opinion. My buddy asked me yesterday to take a look at it for him because he was interested in getting involved, and I, gave him some destination. So we'll take a brief look at Bitcoin as well, more toward the end of the video if you guys want to stick around for that. Actually, we might do it right after we finish up our contract, ES contract. So right now we are looking at the SPY. All right, we're looking at SPY. Something finally changed in SPY. For the first time since 2022, we have now created all-time highs in the SPY ETF. As far as you know, the ES futures contract has been making all-time highs or has made all-time highs. However, the SPY ETF has just now come out of an inside year to the upside. Okay, so last year we opened and closed inside of the previous year's range, and then we are broken out. So it's very positive for the buyers, right? We finally got an all-time high today, 482.72, new all-time high for the SPY. All right, so the monthly has been one time framing up for the last 2 months, and we continue that by taking out last month's high, and then extended even more so by taking out the all-time high from 2022. So very positive for the buyers, right? We love to see it. We been waiting for a while to find clearance above that 479.98 level. We just missed it last month. This month we've been grinding towards the highs, and we finally got it. So very, very positive there for the SPY ETF. And then we'll just briefly look at the weekly here. It's going to look very similar. Ooh, that's ugly. It's going to look very similar to what the ES futures contract looks like and what we'll go over. But for the last several weeks, you can say 4 weeks, we've been in a balance, and we've taken out that balance high. Now one time framing up on the weekly, and the daily has gone from balance back to up, right? We went down, back to balance. Now we're back to up. SPY firmly above the 20-day moving average again. Once again, very, very positive move today. A $6 move to the upside. And I didn't take a single fucking trade. I didn't take a single trade, man. I just didn't. A, I didn't have the time to. And then B, just, after this week's and the last several days' losses, just haven't had the confidence in me to do such a thing. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the futures contract here, where I have all my destinations and all that nice things marked up. So here's our monthly. Oh, that's the weekly. Monthly. Here is our monthly chart, all right, on the ES futures contract. As you can see, I got a little target up there, 52.60. I think will be a high for the year. I put that in on the 13th, so I think we can get there at some point in time. Anyway, we are officially, well, not officially, but we do continue to one-time frame up. We've been one-time framing up for the last 2 months, and we continue that trend on the monthly. In yesterday's video, I was discussing about how positive it is, in the bigger picture that the monthly is still up, even though we were having a little bit of consolidation in the weekly and the daily, trying to find acceptance above 4,700. It's a very positive thing. We had been one-time framing up for 9 weeks in a row, and then finally began to get some type of consolidation and attempt to find acceptance of higher prices, which is what you want to see as a buyer. And a prime time swing trade in the ES futures or the SPY whenever we were in that weekly balance. And we'll look at that weekly balance here in just a second. But we do continue to set all-time highs today. 48.7425 is now our new all-time high. We'll look to take that out come Monday. All right, now let's go ahead and look at our weekly time frame. Go ahead and look at our weekly. Remember, we came into a balance 2 weeks ago, and we held our balance low. So guess what? We got near our balance low, and now we are experiencing the third rule, right? Remember, there are 3 rules when it comes to balance. You either get near balance high or low and roll over the opposite direction. You get near balance high or low, slightly stretching it, and then roll over the opposite direction. And then lastly, you get to, through, and away from a balance high or low. And in this case, since we are trending up, we have taken out the balance high by a good margin here. Finally, burst out of this balance to the upside. And I said we should get some pretty good legs underneath this if we come out of this balance. And so far, it's rather positive. Today's range was 128 points. And like I said, I didn't get involved. It's very, let me fix my camera right quick. But it's very frustrating to know that I can see the market. Execution on the trade has been a very, very difficult thing for me. But had you bought, against on this pullback here, had you bought against this previous week's low, expecting us maybe to hold this balance low at 47.1975, you are in the money good right now, right? $128 or 128 point range, and you might not even caught it, but either way, you're probably still up $100 if you took a swing trade using that 47.19 out as your out. Very positive for the buyers here as we break out of this balance to the upside, out of this bit of consolidation after having this very large run up. Finally got the consolidation, flagged, boom, broke to the upside. So very, very positive there. And then lastly, looking at our daily one time framing up as well. So now we're back to one time framing up on all 3 time frames. And for those of you that maybe don't know what one time framing is just setting higher highs and higher lows. We're taking out previous day's highs and setting higher lows. That's all it means. And then same vice versa for the one time framing down. And then balance just means we're chopping in a range. And as you can see, we were chopping in a range for quite some time. Finally got a pretty good move to the upside here. Just 59 points today, 128 overall on the week. Very, very positive for the buyers as we took out our all-time high and our balance high, setting new all-time highs. So one time framing up, we look to continue that come Monday. And we'll look at the 30-minute time frame here in just a second, just real briefly. We'll look at the 30-minute time frame, show you guys where we want to open up at, right, for the most positive response for buyers, right? And then where we do not want to open up at if we are buyers, and it could potentially lead to some selling. Now, keep in mind, today's range was rather large, and we're back above the 4,800 level. So we may have a day of consolidation within today's range, and then get another leg up, okay? Having consolidation is not a bad thing. It makes the market a little more difficult to read. However, we want to find acceptance up here above the 4,800 level, above the 4,850 level, and then continue to our continuation and grind toward the 5,000 level, which I do think we'll get at some point in time this year. All right. And I said I was going to look at Bitcoin, so let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. There it is. Let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. So we're going to look at the monthly time frame here on Bitcoin real quick. As you know, we had that huge run up, right? For most of you that knew, then we came back down, putting ourselves into a rather large balance. Slightly stretched that balance low, and then we broke out of that balance high, started a one time frame up, and then put ourselves back into a balance. One time frame down, back to balance, then one time frame down for a while. Came back into a balance, began to one time frame up, back to balance, right? Continues to stay within this consolidation of balance between basically 3,200 or 32,000, excuse me, and 25,000. So consolidated within that range for quite some time. And then boom, we broke out of that consolidation to the upside. One time framed up for 1, 2, 3, 4 months so far. Okay, we've been one time framing up for 4 months. So very, very positive. The upside destinations there were going to be that 48,340, that high. Your next upside destination on the monthly is going to be that high up here at 59,545. But I think before then, you got to find acceptance above that 50,000 level, which is a very, very visual level. 50,000, I think, if we get above that and hold above it, you'll be very positive. Now, we have had a pretty good pullback. This is why my buddy asked me to look at it, just because we have had a pretty good pullback, especially after this gap up, right? We gapped up, one time framed up, came back into a balance, one time framed up again, one time framed up, and then came back into a balance. So far, we've stretched the balance low, but I think very key would be holding above 40,000 to right around basically 39.5. All right, so if you can hold above 40,000, I think this is a really good buy here. All right, now obviously if you break below the 39,000 level, then you'll come down and start visiting these other levels, that low of 37.1, and then that low of 36.20 or 36.225. Okay, you'll start to get into that 3,500 level. However, we are finding some type of consolidation. Initially, the first time down into this gap, we found a little bit of a rejection out of it, as buyers are present, and then obviously shorts are beginning to cover in that area. So getting back above 4,800 or 48,000, and then getting above 50,000, I think is going to be a very, very key thing for Bitcoin here. We definitely want to see 50,000, and then, like I said, that high up here at 59,680 would be there. Oh, and actually, that is something I do want to mark right there, is this upside gap fill, right? We do have this gap that Bitcoin is looking to fill on the upside as well as the downside. So right there, you have that gap between, what is that? Between 52,195, so 52,195, and then that gap gets filled at 54,095. Okay, is where that gap gets filled. So about a $2,000 gap, or 2,000 point gap, however you want to look at it, about a 2,000 point gap. So far, we've got near that, but you want to see obviously buyers hold here, 40,000, rotate up into that 50,000, and then just real quick, let's look at the daily, what that's looking like within that range right here. So as you can see, daily has been, so weekly's in a balance, but the daily is in a different state. The daily has gone from balance to down. We've been one time framing down for the last 2 days, I'm going to say. The last 2 days have been one time framing down below the 20-day moving average. So obviously you want to get above the 20-day moving average on Bitcoin here, and then move your way up to those bigger areas. But obviously major key level here at 40,000, and wanting to hold above the 50-day moving average. If not, then things, like I said, could get ugly, and you do have another little gap here on the daily, right around that 35, 37 level. So just a brief look at what Bitcoin can do, both for the upside and the downside. However, with the way the monthly's been, one time framing up, you should see, buyers step back into this market, hopefully, not hopefully, but should, and then you should see price rotate higher. But once again, you need to find acceptance there. Right now, that's what we're trying to do, right? This is the first time in a long time Bitcoin's been above 40,000, and it's just cleaning up some inventory, trying to find acceptance up here. Once it does, it will rotate higher, and you will get above 50,000, and then you might see the exact same thing, just a whole lot of consolidation, and then begin your leg back up towards the all-time highs, filling that gap there, and then obviously targeting those levels that is stated on the upside. All right, enough about Bitcoin. Let's look at our 30-minute time frame here in ES. All right, so yesterday I gave you guys like a little bit of a support and resistance scenario, because we were in that balance, just showing where support was on the balance low and where resistance was on the balance high, for those that like to look. And as you can see, we had a little bit of trouble pushing through those levels, basically above 48.23 up until the high of 48.39. We had kind of a difficult time there, initially just chopping around, but still one time framing up. I don't think we didn't stop one time framing up at all today until late. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 time frames, and then on the 11th time frame, we one time frame down, or we stopped the one time framing up and then resumed it. So we go out with a trend day to the upside here, getting those upside destinations, opening above our price spike from yesterday. If you guys remember in yesterday's video, buyers wanted to open above 47.96 and hold that. Well, we opened with a gap, filled that gap, held the previous day's high, and where the price probe was, right? There was a price probe. I didn't mark it because we had the price spike, and I thought that was more important. But we did open above that price probe at 48.10.50. Never got near it, and then just boom, exploded to the upside. Yes, it was a bit of a grind. However, once we got above the all-time high here at 39.75, we began one time framing up with single prints. Okay, so very, very positive for buyers. As you can see, there's a whole lot of chop in B period, C period about the same time, same thing. D period, not as much chop as it did close to the highs. A little bit of consolidation and E and F, and then began to one time frame up the rest of the day with several sets of single prints. So very strong move once we got above 39.75, and there's clear skies ahead. And would not be surprised to see us come Monday potentially opening up with a gap or opening up within the upper distribution. Today, because of the several sets of single prints, we do have 2 distributions, and I'll mark those right now. So, and I'm very upset with myself because I allowed all the shit that I dealt with throughout the week here, getting hurt and taking losses, kept me, not necessarily kept me, because I kept myself from trading today and getting hurt even more. So clearly a lot to deal with on my end, self-sabotaging and things of that nature. Got some demons to deal with, to say the least, and I'm sure any and all traders out there understand what I mean when I say that. So sometimes it can feel like a constant losing battle, but I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a quote out there by Thomas Edison, right? He's some it's not about, or he never failed. He just found out 10,000 different ways to not to do what he was doing, essentially. So I'm not failing. I'm just finding out 10,000 different ways before I find, not what not to do, 10 different thousand ways. You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. English. I've been up since fucking 3 a.m. Okay. Don't judge me. But you get what I'm saying. It's not about how many times you fail. It's about the only time you actually fail is when you give up. And I'm not giving up. I've gotten better as the years have gone by. Execution has even gotten better. It seems like it may not. So, all right, enough about me. Low of day is at 48.15. Keep in mind, 48.15 was where we had these wide points of control here. All right. We had a lot of issues around that 48.15. And then you see how here we were struggling, and then here we were struggling at that 48.15, right where we had a lot of this volume packing in. And then today, our low of day is 48.15. Mechanical market, okay? Mechanical market. I mean, you definitely, buying around that level was definitely a good play. And if you were able to create a large enough stop, hell, you could have even used just a 5-point stop below 48.10. Use that stop below 48.10, because once you got below the price probe, you knew the next downside destination was going to be that 47.96. But because we held that was a great risk reward long to the upside, targeting those those daily highs, and then that high at 48.36.50. And then once we got above that, obviously clear skies. So right here is where we'll mark our high day real quick, and then we'll mark our single prints on the way down, and then I'll identify the distributions. And clearly you'll want to open up in the upper distribution if you are a buyer. Otherwise, you could see a little bit of liquidation. And honestly, with the amount of single prints we had, I would not be surprised if we chopped, if we did open up and failed to hold in the upper distribution and couldn't get into the lower. Would not be surprised if we chopped between 48.40 and 48.60. Okay, so I wouldn't excuse me, I wouldn't be surprised if we packed in some volume where we had these single prints and did very little time, spent very little time in that area. So, and a lot of times that tends to be the case whenever we open up inside a previous day's range and fail to move higher. All right, there's that. You have single prints that start here at 59.75. 59.75 is where the single prints start and where the upper portion of the lower distribution begins. Single print start 1, 24. So between 48.59.75 and 48.74.25, that is your upper distribution where I'm highlighting here. So buyers want to open up in this range, okay, and then push higher, or open above it and hold above it and push higher. Okay, sellers want to open up below here, below the 59 level, and get into that lower distribution, which was going to be between 41 and 48.15. Okay, and then you have single prints in between, obviously, that you would be filling. So single prints fill here at 56.75. So that is one set. We have several to mark here. And if you're still here at the towards the end of this video, you're a trooper. I truly appreciate your support. If you'd like to leave a like down below, that'd be cool. Maybe leave a comment. That'd be even better. Low of day, or not low of day, excuse me. Single print start here. Another set, 48.56. 48.56 is where the next set start. 48.56. Single print start. Boom, boom, boom. And those get filled right here at 48.50. 48.50 is where they get filled. Single prints fill. Are you kidding me? Okay, never mind. Single prints fill there, and then you have your last set before you get into the lower distribution, which begins at 41 flat. You have single prints that start here at 43.50. 43.50. They start here and then get filled at 41. So just a 2-point set, but nonetheless, they are there. And then this is where they get filled. SPF, baby. All right, 24. All right, so there you have it. There's your trend day. So marking your lower distribution now, that starts at 41, all right, and goes to 48.15. So there is your distributions. All right, so buyers want to open up in the upper distribution. Sellers want to open up below that upper distribution and get into the lower. Obviously, if you do that and buyers reject out of it, you could see a whole lot of chop in between that area, right? This acts, single prints act as a gap, as an intraday gap. So you want to hold the gap if you're a buyer. Sellers want to fill that gap, right? And then get down here. So you can see where we accumulated some buyers, and then that got distributed up here as we found some selling, a little bit of two-sided trading going into the close as people were taking profits along the way. So hopefully that makes sense. As far as your downside destinations, there they are. 59.75, fill at 56.75, start at 56, fill at 48.50, start at 43.50, fill at 41, and then you have nothing, a vacuum until 48.15. Upside, obviously, high time, all-time high 74.25, and then there's nothing stopping you from moving for another 100 points, you know. So with that being said, I know this was a long one. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.